Why is it so hard for us to do things we don't really want to do? Now, I grew up on a farm, and during the harvest season, so the time when we take the crops in from the fields, we would often have dinner together as a full crew. And so we had been working all day long, and so at about 6 o'clock at night, actually exactly at 6 o'clock at night, the crew would stop and we would drive to one corner of the field, and my mom would bring a meal out for all of us there, and we would sit down, we would have a hot meal. We would usually eat it really, really quickly, and usually within about a half an hour or so the food was done, and then we would go back and start working again, and we would often work until about midnight. Well, before I started helping out with the harvest crew, often when I came home from school, then Mom would ask me to help out with doing various things and putting the stuff in the truck and these different things. And I remember one particular evening where I can't remember exactly what I was doing, but I wasn't helping at the moment. I think I might have been doing homework or pretending I was doing homework. I don't really remember. And she said something like, "Chad, would you like to move the cooler into the truck?" And of course I heard, "Do you want to, or would you like to?" And so I said out loud, I said, "No." And now, in the meantime, I went to go and do it anyway, but all my mum heard was, "No, I'm not going to do what you ask." And she was a little bit stressed because she was a little bit late, and she was so mad after she had put whatever it was that she had in the truck. She came back and she was so angry at me. "How do you?" And then as she came into the house, I was walking out with the cooler, and she realized what had happened. Now, I realized it was my mistake for saying verbally, "No, I don't want to." She learned later not to ask if I want to do something, but just to tell me to do it. Now, I share that story because as we move into Holy Week next week, so that time between Palm Sunday, which is this coming Sunday, and then Good Friday and Easter, that time where we think about what it means that Jesus has come and all of the things that happened between that moment when he was acclaimed as king riding into the city and when he was put to death and then he rose again from the dead. I was thinking particularly about what happened on, or what we usually refer to as Maundy Thursday, that the washing day, that day when Jesus, during that supper with his disciples, sat down and washed their feet. And after he had washed their feet, he sat back down at the table and he says, "Now that you have seen me, your Lord and Master, wash your feet, I ask you to do the same." And it got me thinking about the ways in which we are called to do things, sometimes, maybe even often, things we don't really want to do because we belong to a particular community. I mean, we can't just say, "No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do things that are going to honor someone who has served in a place for a long time. I don't want to set aside some of my time in order to go and help someone who's just lost someone that they love. I don't want to phone someone up who really needs a listening ear because it's going to just cause me some heartache, or it's going to take some of my time." I mean, sure, there's times when we don't want to do that, but that doesn't mean we're not called to do it. I mean, after all, if Jesus washes his disciples' feet and then asks us to do the same for one another, I think that's pretty much what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to serve each other. And so as we go into Holy Week and we think about the ways that maybe we've been a little bit selfish over, particularly over this past year in some ways, kind of our society has been more and more demanding about what we want and what our rights are, and the ways in which others can't tell us what to do or shouldn't tell us what to do. Think about this call from Jesus, this call to serve one another. And I'd encourage you in this next week, and well, throughout your whole life, but particularly in this next week, think about the ways and the people that could really use a listening ear or some help or some care. Who are the people that you can serve this coming week? As usual, if this is helpful for you, I encourage you to like the video and subscribe, and maybe share it with others who would need a little bit of encouragement this coming week.